Well, good evening. Good evening. This is the Minister M.L. Kimble coming to you live here. I wanted to do a personal video, not personal, but public video here to explain to the public my views of what's happening with my case. Because I've had a lot of people ask me, and it is public knowledge, and my attorney did say that it is something that I can speak on now. So I'm going to share with you all what I am experiencing and what has transpired over the last 2 years of my entire life dealing with my company, the HCV Distribution Corporation, which was formerly housed and located in the Swanton area. We closed back in November of 2021. So I wanted to kind of give you guys what actually transpired, and then I'm going to take you guys to the actual case, and we're going to look at some of the public documents so that you guys can understand what I've been dealing with. Because at the end of the day, I'm not going to sit back and be quiet about what has truly transpired and what is going to be done, and what we're going to do to rectify the situation. So as the CEO and the acting person in regards to HCV, we need to, you need to know what is transpired. And I'm going to give you nothing but public knowledge. So everything that we talk about, we're going to, you can look these things up yourself and take a view of them yourself. But from the standpoint of me, you guys have to hear what truly transpired. So starting back from 2010 or 2010, yes, that's when I actually started out there working in the Swanton, Ohio area. And back when I started working in Swanton, I was actually the finance manager at the McNeil Chevrolet dealership. They didn't hire me in as a salesman. They brought me straight in the door as the finance manager. And from that point on, I worked there until 2018. After my grandmother passed away, I kind of did want to get out of that industry. And then I actually got involved in the hemp CBD industry, where I actually learned a lot of different things. I actually had my first biggest sale in Denver, Colorado. It was a very, very, very beautiful time. I got to also spend some time out in Oregon. I spent time on the actual farms. I got to meet farmers, and it was a great time of my life. And I brought back some skills that allowed me to then open up my own retail establishment in the Swanton area. So we actually opened up and started out on 128 North Main Street, when we actually started the store, and we opened it up in the public, and we were right downtown. We were kind of in a storefront rent to own place. I don't know what it was, but the truth of the matter is the landlord was a complete scam. His name was Mike Wells, and we rented a place from him that literally had leaking roof problems that he wanted to try to charge us as renters to pay for, and he tried to blame it on our plastic sign for why the place had leaking problems. And come to find out, it was leaking for over 50 years. So when we put him out into the the public told us what kind of a scam he was. And the truth of the matter was, they actually introduced us to a new owner, which gave us a new location. So we opened up a new location, which was right down the street from our old location. And immediately we remodeled the place and completely, because it was a dump when we took advantage of it, or took keys in possession of it. It was a complete dump. The place stunk. It had horrible carpet, no paint anywhere. It was ridiculous. Everything had to be thrown out and gutted out and replaced. And so we actually completely remodeled this place from a complete dump into a beautiful place for customers to walk in and out of. And we actually documented our remodel of this place from dump to the beautified place that we turned it into. And then, we began to do business. And over that 8 months that we opened up, we had over 100 5-star ratings on Google just in that location because of what we did in sales. We did over $138,000 in sales. We had a lot of people that loved us. And the beautiful thing is, Everybody was talking about us. But however, there were a lot of people in that town that unfortunately did not appreciate me. They did not like me. For one, I knew a lot of the people from upstairs when I actually started in Swanton. I did not go through the city of Swanton to open the business. I kind of actually was able to rub some elbows because of people that I knew, which actually allowed me to touch and make contact with the mayor of the city of the Swanton. In fact, the mayor was actually at one point watching me on my karaoke videos. At one point, we were that close on Friends Facebook, where he'd watch me every night when I'm either singing karaoke or playing my instruments. He messaged me on my birthday and happy birthday. I had a lot of different people on the professional level that I knew over the years from that community. And then so the beautiful thing is everybody knew everybody, and the beautiful thing is I was pretty well known in the community, not just from the beautiful working at McNeil's, but from the CBD. So then it became an employee establishment where my sister became an employee, my wife became an employee, and literally the community began to know who we were. Well, we began to start out the place with a harassment from Mr. Mike Wells every single day that we opened. Every single day, he literally would drive by the place and harass us every single day, every single day. Now, understand that we're the only African American in this whole complete town. I mean, every single day he would drive by our store and purposely lay on his horn just to harass us every single day. Periodly, just completely harass us. And the reality is, I told the police about it. They did nothing about it. But anyway, every day he did it, whether I was there, my sister was there, my wife was there. Well, come to November 17, 2021, our store is broken into. I am at home the week prior. I had taken a week off before the incidents happened. My sister was the employee the date of the incident, the night before the incident, but she left the building, which we have evidence of. She left the building at 6:10 in the evening. And nobody I knew was going to be driving around at 5 or 6 o'clock in the morning in Swanton. Well, the next morning, my store alarm went off at 6:45 a.m. I want you, or 6:15 or somewhere in there. I just want you guys to understand. I may be off on the time, but listen, my alarm went off, and the police were about 2 miles from my store. I live about 20 minutes from the store. The police were 2 minutes from the store. The alarm went off at 6:15 or whatever it was. And for whatever reason, the police went to the wrong address. Now, I want you to understand our new address was down the street from the police that they passed all day long. Every police officer in that town knew exactly where my store was because the chief of police actually met me at the store when I first opened the store. So this was a store that everybody knew who I was. Everybody knew where the store was, but somehow the police decided to go to the wrong address. Not only that, it took them almost an hour to get to my store. So it took them it's on the police report. It took them almost a complete hour to get to my store. I live 20 minutes from the store. And because of that, whatever reason that State Farm wanted to come up with, they decided to investigate me and then tell me that they're going to deny my case for no reason. And they have a reason that they come up with that they have no proof for. And the beauty and the ridiculous, most ridiculous thing about this is nobody's looking at the fact that the police were an hour late. Nobody's looking at the fact that the lady I got my building from locked me out of the building for over a year, confiscated what we had left after the robbery. On the 17th, we had a robbery. They peed on our stuff. They wrote racial things on the wall. This all happened on the 17th. The reality is, instead of me being treated as the victim, I was treated as the criminal. I've been fighting it out for 2 entire years. State Farm decided to deny my claim. Well, it's now public knowledge, and I now need people to understand that I was mistreated as an African American. I still have been mistreated. The reality is the lady I got my building from somehow found out my information about my claim being denied without me knowing. She knew about my claim being denied before I knew. Somebody at State Farm shared my personal information with this lady. My personal private information was compromised. And the reality of it is, you have to be strong enough to understand that you can't sit back and let somebody just throw your personal information around. When you have insurance, nobody should understand or know anything about your policy unless you give it to them. And somebody, some way, somehow passed on to this lady my information, which gave her ammo to lock me out of my building. I had no access to our products. When she gave us back our products, they were ruined products that I could not sell to the public because I didn't know if she urinated in those products or whatever she gave back. I could not be liable to the public, and I would not sell that stuff to the public. So we were at a complete loss. And at the end of the day, I've been fighting State Farm for almost 2 entire years. And now we're getting ready to face it off in court. So I felt like I need to now speak on it, and we can talk about it and you guys can see what it is, because they've completely mistreated me. And the reality of it is, now it's public knowledge. So I'm going to share my screen here real fast. We're going to start with what is actually filed in court, what we actually certified and sent in court in regards to State Farm and everybody included in this case. You guys are going to see everything, because the reality is, people don't understand that white privilege, as you call it, racial discrimination, as you call it, still happens every day to us. And until somebody can show me that it doesn't, this um, is what we're still battling out. So I want you guys to see this, because it needs to be seen. When I get the right one up, I don't want this one, I want the other one. I want you guys to see this. See, one thing my mom taught me, which Lord rest her soul, is to not ever sit back and let anything, don't let your rights be compromised if you can help it. Because at the end of the day, if you don't know what your rights are and you don't understand what you can do, then the reality is, things can happen to you and nothing will be done about it. So this is the actual complaint that we filed in court. I'm going to speak on it now because they denied our original complaint, and their reasoning for the denial, they didn't even go through the investigation process with me properly, in my opinion. The guy is ridiculous. He said on one level that I paid all of my bills, but yet he went off of the police report he went off of Mike Wells's wife, and he didn't do any job as an investigator. So again, these are things that I have a problem with. So unfortunately, this is what the case is about. So I want you guys to see this in detail, so that way you understand what it is. If you look up my company, you ask me what it is, then you can see that we are in litigation now. And I'm going to give you up to date what it is that we're litigating. So now comes the defendant, State Farm and Casualty Company, Brian Ackerley and Jeff Lambert, and their answer. Well, this is their answer. I don't want to read their answer yet. I want to give I want to give the actual um, the actual complaint. I want to see the complaint. I want you guys to see what we are actually in court for, because then it kind of you understand where I'm at with no matter what people say, there is still a difference in how we are treated as a people. And I do believe that because unfortunately, when I tell you guys some things about where my business was located, as far as another business that was next door to me, I just find it hard to believe that the police would have taken that long to get there. But here we are. This is the actual complaint. So as you guys can see, these are the people that were originally named in the complaint, which was the original person in the beginning that was the lady that I had gotten the building from. But realistically, I want to get down to the actual complaint, and these are just the facts of the case. We'll get past the personal address, but basically, we're going to start at verse number 9. Plaintiffs undertook renovating the entirety of the premises in order to make it viable to a house, a cannabidiol business, which is true. I just told you guys that. Starting on or about November 11th, defendant State Farm began providing insurance for plaintiff HCV at 108 South Main Street, Swanton, with the former policy number. The State Farm policy was acquired. Local Swanton, Ohio agent defendant Jeff Lambert, plaintiff HCV and plaintiff Kimble successfully operated the business, lodging over $120,000 in gross sales in under a year. On or about January 18th, 2022, at roughly 6:27 a.m., plaintiff, so this was in January, was notified by his security system that the alarms were triggered. There had been a break-in at 108 South Main Street, Swanton, 08. So remember the time, at 6:27 a.m. So that means that at 6:32, at roughly 6:32, Chief Berg of Swanton Police Department received a call of active alarm. So they were notified literally after me, right after me. I want you guys to understand this. So if I didn't call them, somebody called them, they were notified right after me. And they were triggered at my address, which was the 108 South Main Street. At roughly 7:23, which is completely almost a complete hour later, Chief Berg sent officers to my address. So it took them a complete hour to show up at my address and discovered that the business had been vandalized. So they didn't realize this until 7:23. A third party yet to be identified broke into the business, stole a great deal of inventory, stole cash, vandalized the interior of the business, flooded the property, sprayed racial obscenities on the wall, very clearly directed at the plaintiff, Kimble. Property damage committed at the premises made it so plaintiff HCV and plaintiff could no longer proceed with the business operations at 108 South Main Street, Swanton, Ohio. This is exactly what transpired. Plaintiff immediately called defendant Lambert. I want you guys to understand Jeff Lambert was my former agent. His office was probably 5 minutes in walking distance from my former store. I called him several times the day of the incident to file an insurance claim pursuant to the State Farm policy under my former policy number. Lambert did not respond to plaintiff Kimber's calls. This is the absolute truth. He refused to call me back, or whatever his situation was that day. So I called the customer service because there was somebody that I had to call to start a claim, according to the police, after the police and I met at the store that day. I told him I was calling the insurance company. So I basically was trying to get a hold of him. Nobody from his office responded to me. I called the complete customer office. To be honest with you, after that, there was no more talking with him and I. So basically, what the form, these are the facts of the case and what we're actually pursuing. Breach of contract. Plaintiffs reassert and the plaintiff HCV through plaintiff Kimble and entered an insurance contract. They go through and they talk about all the things that happen here. but they're going to bad faith, defamation of character, defamation per se, libel, libel per se, punitive damages. This is what we're in court for on this particular situation. These guys completely broke the law. I don't know who broke the law, but somebody broke the law, and I was treated as a complete criminal instead of a person that had been dealing with a situation that should have been taken care of. My business was right next door to what used to be, I don't know if it's still there, but it was Tano's Pizza, which is another huge business right there in downtown Swanton. And I just find it hard to believe that if the alarms went off at downtown Tano's, that it would have taken them an hour to get there. And the reality was, it took them an hour. And so when I gave even State Farm, a name to specifically investigate about this particular thing, which was Mike Wells. I got that name from my former employer. Is my former employer said, "Hey, you should have them look at Mike Wells, just like him, that could do something like this and have somebody that he knows that works for him that could set this up." I mean, that was what was said to me. So I did this thing and played this thing out honestly. And at the end of the day, even the people I used to work with, they kind of turned their back on me. All of the people in Swanton at one time turned their back on me because of what was said between these two people in the community, talking about my personal business, telling my personal business between each other. Somebody at State Farm broke the law as far as I'm concerned. You cannot share personal information with people that are not on the claim, first of all, and they had no right to deny the claim. But the bottom line is they come up with excuses because of the fact that I was a new insurance company holder, whatever the scam was. It doesn't matter. They literally investigated me and then turned down my claim and thought I was just going to walk away from that. No, I began to speak with attorneys. I've had to go through 2 attorneys in 2 years. But no, we're fighting this thing out. You guys literally robbed me of my business, my complete professional name, who I was once known as. I could never rebuild myself from who I used to be in that community. I knew so many people, and so many people I made lifelong connections with that have been ruined because of this ridiculousness that spread across this city that unfortunately didn't have anybody that looked like me in it. Unfortunately, that was what it was. It was even when I worked at the dealership. There was nobody else that worked in that community that was African American. So you can understand what I had to go through. Unfortunately, racism does not go away just because we think it does. There was people that loved me and there was people that hated me. And unfortunately, there was nigger written on my wall, and there was some pee and urine put on the walls, and there was water spread on the walls, and there was people that walked in there and saw the evidence of it and denied the claim as if I had something to do with it. And it's ridiculous because I lived 20 minutes away and I was in bed with my wife the morning when this went off. The police were notified right after I was notified, and they were 5 minutes from the store. So you do the math of why it took them an hour to show up. Nobody's talking about that. At the end of the day, I lost a complete business that I had complete great things that were told about me. We had people that we were taking, older customers and elderly customers that we were able to treat with, natural things. And we had great things that were said about us all throughout the community. And then all of a sudden, our business has an incident. And then the insurance company finds a way to deny fixing the problem when they drop the ball. I mean, somebody dropped the ball and it wasn't me. So at the end of the day, we're now in court. So as of today, um, I want you guys to see that as of today, we've got a hearing. And the hearing versus State Farm is scheduled on October 27, 2023 at 9 o'clock a.m. Now, I don't know if I'm allowed or supposed to be at that hearing yet, but I tell you where I am going to be at. I will promise you, I will be at. Let's hold on a second. Hmm. Yeah, I will be at the judgment here on this date right here. Let's see here. Oh, we're past this time here. This is when we had to get a new judge. We had to get a new judge. I forgot to tell you that. We had a judge on there at one point that had to sign himself off the case because of something or somebody he knew in the case. I mean, there's just so many parts of this case that's a scam that absolutely I want you guys to see the scam of what they actually tried to do. And I just unfortunately, like even my friend who absolutely is white, he even said the same thing. It's ridiculous that unfortunately it feels like just because I'm African American that I even had to go through this crap. So pretrial, that had already happened. But realistically, guys, I'm going to court November 27th to defend my rights. So the reality of it is the pretrial is on September 27th, but I will be suiting up and I will be going to court on November 27th with my legal counsel, and I will be defending what these guys did to me because ultimately the complete racism and absolute terrible treatment that I had to go through when I ran business out there is ridiculous. And the fact that they stopped even, they treated me as if I was a criminal, and I don't even have a criminal background. I've never been in trouble in my life, and yet you've made it look like to the community that I've somehow was able to allow somebody to come and break in my own business, and I somehow would know that the police were going to be an hour late to show up. The most ridiculous thing in the world. And I should not have had to fight this out 2 years, and I should not have even lost my business behind it. But you know what? I want you guys to know what truly happened. And I want you to be able to look online and see what I'm telling you and understand what truly happened and what how they screwed me around and what they did. Now, I don't care who passes the buck, where they passed the buck, and how they passed the buck at State Farm. Somebody dropped the ball and let my personal information get out to the lady that I had my building from, which was supposed to be a land contract. And that lady decided to hold my personal belongings and the store's personal belongings, all of the personal things that we had, even after the break in. She kept hostage of it for over a year because she tried to strong arm me into signing off on the building so she could sell it, because she couldn't get me off the building because I did not rent with her. I did a land contract with her. So now we made her go through court to get me off the building. Well, then she then returned me a bunch of garbage and things that I could not sell to the public. And then the reality of it is she was told information about my claim and my personal information that she had no business knowing by somebody at State Farm. I didn't tell her. Somebody told her, and everybody wants to pass the buck. So now it's time to go to court. And Mr. Kimble is not afraid to go to court, especially when he knows that he's not lying. They put me through a 6 hour deposition, another 3 hour, 4 hour deposition. My answers ain't changing. I'm not lying to you scams. Take care of me and stop playing with me, man. Y'all already stole my business from me. You already did what you did. You've ruined my complete personal life out there. Now make it right, State Farm. You know what you need to do. This is not on me, it's on you. Until next time, I'm the minister, ML Kimble. Be blessed on purpose.